And good morning and welcome to What's Up Noops one-on-one series. Here this morning we are going to be joined by Dale Venturini, the President and CEO of Rhode Island Hospitality Association, as well as Heather Singleton, who is the Chief Operating Officer. And Venturini, good Dale. I can hear you.
Good, thank you.
No
How about
problem. I'm doing okay.
if there's any delay, it's because I'm getting a delay back from you, so bear with me. I'm sure everyone's used to some of the challenges we're having, right, with technology. It's so, we're using it so much more than we ever have. I know he's about to join us.
Yes, and we do have Heather with us as well. I wanted to make sure that you could hear us, and Heather is here as well. And let me move this around a little bit and see what I can do. That is good right there. And good morning, Heather. How are you?
I'm great, Ryan. Thanks for having us on.
Of course. And wanted to take a moment. And of course, there are a lot of people going to be watching today that don't know what the Rhode Island Hospitality Association is. So maybe we can get your elevator speech, or not the fancy corporate speech, of what does the Rhode Island Hospitality Association do?
Well, we are a trade association, so that means members join us to work for them. So we're the trade association for the restaurant, lodging, and tourism industries. And most of our work is basically regulatory as well as education. So we have lobbyists, of course, that we work on a state level with. And we also have, we work on a city and town level and on a federal level. And then on Heather's team, she works on the education component of our industry. I'm not hearing you, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Here we go. Try that again.
Okay.
I'm telling you, everybody using the internet at once.
It is, and I'm finding it particularly hard in the morning, believe it or not.
Yeah, everybody tries to get all their work done. But Rhode Island Hospitality Association calls themselves the voice of Rhode Island's lodging, restaurant, and tourism industry. So as the voice, tell us about COVID-19 and its impact on your members.
Okay, I can do that. I'll tell you what, it's a very emotional time. It's an emotional time because right now we are working so hard at finding the balance, for health and financial concerns. And then just as importantly to, look at regulations, costly regulations to ignite the economy. And the hardest part about my job, I've been in my job a long, long time, Ryan, over 30 years. The hardest part of what's going on right now is not having the answers. We are usually the person you call for anything. I don't care what it is. We encourage our members to call us for anything, and we'll help you find the answer. Right now, there are no answers. When something happens, there's not a playbook to go to say, okay, this is how we handle it. We're almost creating the answers with all of the players, whether it be I call it the alphabet soup of regulators, the Department of Health, the Department of Labor, all of the great people that are working to try to figure this out with us together. And the nice part is they're including us where they can. But the interesting part about our industry, Ryan, is that we're not cookie cutter. There's no restaurant other than, if you have a chain that you have to do the same thing with. Every one of us is different. So to try to find answers to some of these really hard questions, since we were closed down, on March 17th, or 16th, I guess was the announcement, I think has been the most difficult thing because we don't have the answers. We're creating them as we speak. I was on with just before this call, this questions after question after question. And I understand, I heard yesterday, and I only got to grab a little tiny piece of it when I saw the mayor and your city council president on. And I was very happy to hear that they were going to be working with us to support the restaurant community in this initial phase of outdoor dining. That's really important. We've got other cities already putting ordinances in. We've gotten commitments from several cities to get ahead of this. So when the date certain happens, when the governor announces it, we're ready to go. So I'm really encouraged to hear what I heard yesterday. And like I said, I only heard a little bit of it. So I want to thank them.
Yes, so we had the city manager of Newport as well as the mayor and the vice chair on yesterday, and I had brought up how are they going to work through phase one, phase two, phase three, reopen, and they were very much, at least the members who were on yesterday, they don't represent the entire council's voice, but they were very much open to thinking outside the box, using parking lots, closing down streets for restaurants, closing down streets for stores to bring racks out to open up, as well as to continue to practice social distancing. So those were some of the comments they had yesterday in our hour-long conversation.
You know what I love about all of this is a community coming together. You know, the Rhode Island Hospitality Association calls itself a culture of community because we bring people together, and we're, you know, the communication, the collaboration, and Heather's very well versed on our C's, and she'll probably talk a little bit about that with our training programs. But one of the things that's top of mind for us as we open is safety. It's the safety of our employees. It's the safety of our guests and customers. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about, you know, tourism and the hotel industry, because it's not only opening the restaurants. We want to make sure there are people coming to Newport that can partake in our restaurants. So I think there's this really, really difficult balance of figuring out how to do all of this. And it's not an enviable task because we're all trying to figure it out to the best of our ability. Like I said earlier, with you know, making sure it balances not only health concerns, but
Yeah, and one of the questions we've been asked most over the last couple of weeks is on the hotel side. With the 14-day quarantine order, hotels not knowing when they can take reservations. I'm aware that I was just reading a story from Vermont Digger this morning, how hotels in Vermont at least know on June 15th they can start taking reservations. And, you know, I think that's been one of the struggles from the hotels, and people might not realize that who live here in Rhode Island because they're not staying at a hotel in Rhode Island, but hotels don't have any guidance or very little guidance at this point.
Ryan, I want to assure you, we are working hard. We are questioning. We're in contact with all of the powers that be on a regular basis. And I can't say it enough. We're creating the answers. And I know that the governor put up her several points of what it was going to take for her to go through the phases. And so we're trying to figure this out as well, because the 14-day quarantine is it's very difficult, I admit. You know, I had someone call me that I know from across the country, and when they flew into TF Green Airport and were met by the National Guard, they didn't know what to do, and they were only here for 5 days. So, you know, it's hard for them to come from another state. The good news is they have family here, so I think that there was something worked out there, but I'm not sure, so I don't want to be quoted, but there was something there. You know, one of the things, you know, I want to talk about, you know, your city manager and your mayor and the city council folks is, I'm sure they're worried about tax dollars. You know, I just this morning looked at the tax dollars for 2019. I don't have Newport specific right now, not in my office to have all my stuff at hand, but I just did the combined restaurant and lodging tax for the entire state for 2019. And this month, these numbers come from the Division of Taxation, so they're not my numbers. We collected $292 million in sales tax, hotel tax, meals and beverage tax. 329 to be exact, 363. I mean, I could give you that number, but that's a lot of money that's not coming in. You know, we don't know how much is coming in. We haven't seen the March or April numbers yet, but we know they're not great. And so I'm concerned about the trickle down of all the effects of that COVID is having on everybody, our supply chain, our small businesses, it's everyone.
And to give you an idea, our viewers an idea, just here in Newport, the city has released their proposed 2021 budget, and they're calling for a 1.07 million decrease in meals and beverage tax revenue, 1.03 million decrease in hotel occupancy tax revenue, $460,000 decrease in beach parking, 489 decrease in parking tickets and beach revenues and parking funds, and pretty much they're $3.5 million total in lost revenue as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak. And those numbers, again, in case you want them, is 1.07 in meals and beverage tax revenue decrease and 1.03 decrease in hotel occupancy. And that's just Newport.
That's just Newport. I understand. And Newport, think about Newport. Our season is coming up right now. This is when we celebrate Newport. And so, and I'm sure there's, then we've got not only from those numbers, we got to add in the bridge toll, everything. There's so much loss here. And so I can't wait to start celebrating with our industry in a safe way in our outdoor dining, and then progressively getting back to some level of normalcy. I don't have that crystal ball to know what normal means anymore.
That's it. And it's a new normal. And Heather, where do things look like? Where are there concerns from your point of view?
Ryan, when this whole thing happened and, the governor announced, I think the date was March 9th, the state of emergency. And, March 16th was kind of the day that changed for our industry locally. We had a number of people that were enrolled to take training courses through our education foundation. And the courses were all over the place. I mean, they were basic customer service training classes. It was manager training, coaching for managers in our industry, food safety, of course. And so our team immediately got to work on figuring out a way to move all of these courses to an online format so that we could continue to deliver the services that these folks were promised. And some of those, we were able to do immediately. Other courses, depending upon the restrictions that we might have with the curriculum or the instructor materials, took a little bit longer. But within a few short weeks, all of our training programs are now available in an online format. So we're really, really proud that we were able to turn that around pretty quickly. And the other thing with that is, our national partners, the National Restaurant Association and the American Hotel and Lodging Association, they also got to work really, really quickly. And they've released some free training for people in our industry right now. I mean, it doesn't cost 1 single cent. And these are nationally recognized certification training programs. And depending upon which program it is, I mean, some of these could cost an individual person several $100s just to receive this national certification. So this is a huge, huge opportunity, I think, especially for our employees here in Rhode Island.
Obviously, over the last, we're almost at 2 months total. Today's May 7th. There's had to have been a lot of training going through this of how do you properly and safely do takeout and delivery. What are some of the things you've done during COVID? And in a couple minutes, we'll get to maybe what we're going to do to build the consumer confidence down the line.
So we're very fortunate here in Rhode Island that on our team, we have 2 certified food safety experts. And we have a fantastic relationship with the Rhode Island Department of Health. And so when we knew that takeout was going to be available and delivery was going to be available, we wanted to make sure that we were following food safety practices according to the food code, according to CDC and all of those, trusted national organizations that kind of certify this process. So we were able to really quickly provide some guidelines to our restaurant folks in the food service industry. We worked with the Department of Health to create those. And that information was available right away so that people could kind of turn things around pretty quickly and start doing that type of service for their customers.
Ryan, I want to jump in. A lot of times, we do food safety in our sleep. This is what we do. This is how we operate. It's a normal part of process. It's a normal process. It's mandated by law that you have a manager on duty at all times in food safety. But one of the things that when this happened, as the world changed, we provided checklists so that nobody had to say, wait a minute, let me go back and remember, because the stress level was so up high. We provided them the checklist. We provided them the how-tos within sometimes 48 hours or less, once we knew. So like Heather's team really got together very quickly. And as a team in our office, we have a small team, by the way, we were able to at least work with everyone. And then the thing I want to assure your listeners and to is that all of the things that we did, we made sure were approved by the appropriate state agency, in most cases, the Department of Health.
Now, Dale, do we have a total number, or do you have a guesstimate of what the decreases meant in total for the members that you represent, or a breakdown of what it is costing the lodging or the restaurant, or any kind of impact for anybody out there?
I have a lot of national numbers. I don't have local yet because we don't get our local numbers for almost a month and a half after. So I don't have those numbers yet. So I don't want to say them, but I will say that they're not good. I know Evan Smith, who I know you know very well, keeps a lot of his local numbers, but I don't get the statewide numbers for a little bit of time. Our nationals have done a lot of surveys. In some cases, they found 60% of the restaurants were closed versus, and then the 40% were trying to figure out some takeout. But to get those numbers, I'm probably looking at May 15th or 20th to get those numbers, which I would definitely be able to share with you. But it's not only the numbers, it's also, we have so many people on unemployment right now, and it's a very sad time. I feel sad. I listen to one of the things, Ryan, that we're working on right now is working with the behavioral health organization in the state to provide some counselors for folks, because I'm not skilled to be a counselor, but I'll tell you the calls that I get, I listen to them, and I hear the heartache, I hear the pain, I hear that the not knowing. We're not an industry that does well at not knowing. We're one of those flexible, fluid industries. Something happens, we react to it and go for it. It's just horrible. So it's even more than the numbers. It's this human part of what's going on. And I'm so encouraged to see what Rhode Islanders have done to go out and support our industry. It fills my heart. It feeds my soul to see how supportive people have been. And also, right, people are now starting to understand how important we are to the economy of the state of Rhode Island. Something that I've worked on all my life in this industry, and all the time I've been in this industry. And I think it's so apparent now, there's no disputing how important we are. Not only to Newport, for the entire state. Newport's an obvious one.
Yeah, and I've heard more and more people mentioning how all of a sudden these are essential employees in essential businesses.
Well, if you think about it, now everybody's home, they're homeschooling their children, and now they have to prepare 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, right? That's not the norm. So there's 21 meals, math, right? And they need an outlet to get some to-go food here and there. And they definitely need that outlet. You know what I miss the most? I was thinking about this last night. I miss the cacophony of the noises when you go out to dine. I miss sitting across from my husband. Right now, eat fast and come back to my computer. Right? I don't like home stuff, by the way. The cacophony of noise. If everybody just would have closed their eyes and think about what it was like, when they went out to dine, to hear the noises of the glasses clinking, of the noise in the kitchen, the servers rustling along, just every noise you can think of. I think it would be just fun to think about. Let's get back to that as soon as we can, because I miss that. I miss that interaction with people. And like I said, all those noises, I'll never complain about. Yeah.
And a little today is Thursday, May 7th. It's supposed to be a very big day at the governor's press briefing. She is on at 1 p.m. today she has told press that she will be making her final decision on whether phase 1 starts on Saturday. Yeah. Which means the stay-at-home would end tomorrow. Phase 1 would be about 2 weeks. If people want to see how the phases are going to work, they can go to reopeningri.com to see that. Yesterday, I asked the governor at the press briefing, because it ends tomorrow, the 8th. Was she going to let restaurants continue to allow alcohol, beer and wine, to be sold to go? And she came back with a very positive answer of yes, and she thinks that will be something for the long term, as well as some other ideas where there could be some mixed hard alcohol, mixed cocktails covered to go, things like that. As we enter phase 1 and as we move forward here to reopening, rebuilding, trying to get some revenue back in these businesses, and it's not just restaurants. It's also hotels, it's shops. What are some of the new things you'll think we'll see as people try to reinvent themselves here?
Well, we could never sell alcohol to go with your meal. And we worked hard on that, I have to tell you, because there were a lot of laws, and the governor was able to do it by executive order. Normally, because our legislature's not in, we weren't able to get things moved. And now the next phase will be to allow some form of mixed drinks. We've been talking to her about that, and I'm hoping she announces it today. Only with food, though. Remember, we don't want people, and the containers have to be closed, and store them in the back of your car. There are laws on this already. You asked me what you think people are going to do next. It's really funny how creative people are and trying to figure it out. And I applaud some of the things I heard about Newport. Maybe closing some streets and figuring things out about how they can create this new normal. And also, here's the best part to me. You know how I said the word community? They're competitors, right? These restaurants are competitors. They're looking for the same dollar from the consumer that's coming in. Yet, they're talking about figuring out common spaces that they all can work from and serve their people from, or serve people to. People are getting together, and it's again, it's the nature of this industry is to figure it out and work it out, competitor or non-competitor. But there is such a symbiotic relationship between, and I'm addressing particularly Newport, but it's also throughout the state, between retail, hotel community, and the restaurant community. You cannot take them in one silo because they all feed off one another. If the hotels aren't full, then we don't have people shopping in the shops. And then we don't have the people going to the restaurants. Now, of course, I'm here a Rhode Islander. I live in Cranston. I'm in Newport quite a bit, always stopping in to eat. However, that's not going to be enough. So we've got to get back to a place where we're not only thinking about the restaurants, but we're thinking about how are we going to open up the hotels? How are we going to figure out to get more people to come into Newport so that all of our industries are affected. So nobody is sitting there thinking, oh, just about me. They're thinking about the whole and like very, very holistically. And that is, that's been the nature of our industry. One of the things that's top of mind for us right now, and I wrote it down on my pad, is marketing. To get people back to know. And one of the things that we're working on right now, it's going to be released today, is our pledge. It's our pledge to the consumer. But we're also we're going to ask them to pledge something back to us as well. Heather, can you pull up the pledge? Telling people all the things we already do that you just don't see, but we're going to make them be seen now. The cleaning procedures we've always had, we're ramping them up. We're going Star Wars on ramping up all the cleaning procedures to assure the customer, because now customers are starting to ask us questions about how are we cleaning. We never had that before. They knew we were doing it innately, but they came out to dine and enjoy themselves. Now they're asking us some very hard questions, and we want to address them in advance. Heather, you could bring up a couple of points if you have that up on the screen that is going up today.
Yeah, let me see if I can take a look at this here.
Well, while we give Heather a second.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Dale.
We're going to ask the customer too. Please, if you're really sick, don't come in right now. Don't. There's a few items there. It's very simple. It's not something that somebody saying, oh my God, this is the most brand new thing. It's a lot of common sense. But we want our customers to know that we're going to do everything in our power to keep them safe. And we're going to pledge that. And people are going to sign the pledge.
Excellent. And I am going to, Heather, good to share right now?
Yeah, can you see that?
It is. There it is.
You see a spot where the customer can put, our restaurant can put their logo right there.
Yeah. Yep.
And, it's welcoming people back. And this is our restaurant pledge. We will also have a lodging one. We're working very hard on the lodging one. We're actually partnering with our American Hotel and Lodging Association on the lodging one because that's much, much more detailed. This is our welcome back. We want to welcome you back. We can't wait to see our customers. We can't wait to serve our customers.
Excellent. And, obviously, we can go through all the phases and openings and pledges we want, but, part of the pledge is that knowing that the restaurants, hotels, shops, businesses that we go to are safe to go to, and that we are going to be okay when we go there, when we come back from there. And Heather, you've been working on that a little bit, and wondering if you could tell us about some of the things that Rhode Island Hospitality Association as well as businesses are doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as Dale said earlier, being in this industry, I mean, we're already making sure that food is safe and that our guests are safe and that our employees are safe. But I think what's happening now is that there's just more awareness of how much that safety is really needed. So, we've got a lot of folks working in the back of the house and in our kitchens that are wearing gloves on a regular basis. They're washing their hands on a regular basis. All of the guidance or the guidelines that have come out from the CDC that are to the general public, those are things that we've been doing innately, just as part of our regular standard operating procedures all along. So we're going to continue to do those, and we're going to continue to make sure that staff is trained and educated and understand that those things have to continue. But there's a lot of other things that also need to happen, and those are things like cleaning and sanitizing public spaces. We're talking a lot about sanitizing and disinfecting menus, doorknobs, bathrooms, elevators in hotels, staircases. How is room service going to work? What about protective barriers at the front desk in a hotel? And what does the signage look like? And, there's a whole slew of new things that our industry is going to have to install, adapt to. Our employees are going to have to feel comfortable with why those things have to be in place. And I think another piece of this too is employees are going to have to be educated on how to answer those questions that we're getting from our consumers.
Yes.
And that's a brand new thing that really the employees are going to have to. We know that many people are nervous to come back to work regardless of what industry they're in. But on top of that, being in we are public places of accommodation. And so our employees are going to need to have the confidence to be able to answer those questions when the customer is coming in, whether it's on the phone or handling online questions or even in person. So that's going to be a big piece that we're going to be working on.
Ryan, we are offering free training, what we call free food handler training. We've got a lot of hotel training. It's offered free right now till the end of May, hoping to ramp up and get as many people on that training as possible. So food handler is for frontline folks. It's not for the certification for the kitchen. This is a shorter program, and it's just constantly communicating with people about the importance of how this affects that and the continuum of all that we're doing. So at the end of the day, the consumer and our employees, and we all feel that we're sick. But there's only so much we can do. It's a partnership. It can only be us. The customer has to also be a partner to us on all of this.
I know the answer is an easy one and a very well-known one, but best ways for Rhode Islanders to support the members of the Rhode Island Hospitality Association, as well as hotels and tourism and restaurants, some of the best ways to support.
Be patient with us. Be absolutely patient. I know sometimes it had happened to me the other night. I was absolutely craving French fries, and I ordered something to go. My husband went and picked it up, and my French fries weren't in there. I think somebody did me a favor, quite frankly, but I was disappointed. I really only wanted like 4 or 5 French fries, but I wanted my French fries. So I understand that mistakes are going to happen. We're in a new world. Some places have never had the kind of takeout they're having right now. They might have had 1 or 2. I have a restaurant where I live that never did takeout. And so now they're adapting to it. So I'm just asking people to please be patient with us, and please don't trash us right now, because it's heartbreaking when somebody's been working so hard to figure something out. It's absolutely heartbreaking. If there's a way we could at least give some constructive stuff, maybe even just call the restaurant versus going on social media. It's painful. I've had restaurant owners cry because of what they saw someone say, and they just keep working so hard. So it's participating. It's doing what you normally do, but instead of sitting across from someone in a restaurant, take it home. And you know, one of the things that we need to do too is when we take it home, let's plate it and have dinner. Let's do that at the table, at the dining room table. Let's make that a true experience, because that's what we dine out for, is the whole experience. And it's hard for me, and if I keep reminding myself to do the same thing. And I support your businesses, support your local businesses, help them where you can. I will tell you that we have an employee relief fund. We've been very lucky in this little tiny state of Rhode Island. We don't have a ton of money. We figure we're giving out $250 loans to employees that were members of our association that have been displaced from their job. And there is a process, I will tell you. We just opened it up slowly because other relief funds, their websites crashed. So we did it slowly. Now we're about to ramp up this coming week. There are things, and I know employee may not know if their restaurant that they worked with is a member, so it is something that we have to go through. But there are $250 grants, and I think we've given to about 85 or 90 people so far. I wish I had a ton more money, but I think we'll probably be able to service about 400 people, maybe a little bit more. I want listeners and to know that be on our website, which I know I've seen across the bottom of the screen. By the way, this is the first time I ever did this Facebook Live thing, you know.
It's not always this fancy. This has taken me about 4 weeks to figure out. So,
well, I'll tell you, I'm impressed. It's really pretty cool.
Yes.
But so we do have that relief fund. You know, the other thing, I have to say this out loud because the restaurant community and the community at large, feeding first responders, feeding the medical community, feeding the military. Here are people hurting in their businesses, wondering what the next step is, wondering where they're going to be. Is their restaurant even going to be open? Yet they're all taking the time to go out and feed people to help them get through their jobs. It is, I don't know of any other industry that does things like that at the depth and breadth we're doing. Last night, just at Miriam Hospital, there were 400 meals delivered from 5 or 6 restaurants. It's unbelievable, the generosity that is occurring right now. That I'm going to go back to that community, the culture of community that the restaurant, hotel, and tourism industries just live by, and that's the thing that keeps us all together, and it's going to help us survive.
How about a way that Rhode Islanders and customers can use their voice to help, maybe at the State House or with the governor? Maybe writing a letter or
would be
supporting.
Great. Supporting the industry, yes. You know, we have been working with the governor's staff with regard to finding some monies to help some of these small industries. She said it out loud. Ryan, I hear your question at every press conference. I hear it. I always know. But you can remember that she said she was trying to find a fund to help support that. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want any of my favorite restaurants. I have a lot of favorites by all my members, but I don't want any of them to go away. And I know your folks don't either. You have your favorite restaurant. Let's figure out a way of supporting them, not only by yourself, but yes, send a letter to the governor. Send a letter. You're a good surrogate for them to talk to. I'm sure you hear it all to talk because you have a voice at the conferences, and that's to hear from your listeners and watchers. Now, it would be great to hear people say how much they support the industry.
Now, Dale or Heather, do you have any indication? You know, the governor has said, and there is a question here. Let me see if I can pull this up. There's a question that comes down to, you know, the forced closures and restrictions are going to cripple or kill our business. Is there any help from the state? Have you gotten any more indication of when that might come for businesses or what it might be?
Okay, so two things. The National Restaurant Association has put together a restaurant recovery plan that they're asking Congress for. And I also have been working with Jack Reed's office and a few other all of the offices. Jack Reed, I should say Senator Reed, Senator Whitehouse, Congressman Langevin, and Congressman Cicilline. We've been talking to them. I'm hoping someday they don't see my number and go, oh gosh, I'm not taking that call again. But the National Restaurant Association has come up with a restaurant recovery plan. On our website, Heather, I guess there's a way somebody can reach us on the website. I can always send that to anybody that will be on the website. And also, yes, with the governor, as soon as she said that at her press conference, I was on the phone with her staff. She was still at her press conference and we were on the phone saying, what is this going to look like? How are we going to figure this out? How much money? And I'm going to keep saying it over and over again. There are a lot more questions than there are answers. But I assure you, we are at the forefront trying to figure out a way to help out the industry. It's just that the industry is pretty big in the state of Rhode Island. We're one of the top 5. How much money do we need to have? I don't know the answer to that, but there's a lot of ways to figure it out. Plus, they were, very beginning, we were able to open up about a month and a half ago, I think 6 weeks, that $5,000 mini loan just to get you through while you were waiting for EIDL or the PPP, which, by the way, is another story. I'm not equipped to talk about that now, but I will tell you, National Restaurant Association was able to make some changes. I hate saying that over and over again, but some minor changes, about the time frame, because it really is impossible to comply with it at this stage in the game. We never thought this was going to last this long.
Yeah. Let me just fly through a couple comments here. Mr. Rick Lombardi from Middletown Town Council says, hello, Dale.
Hi, Rick.
He also says, Dale, we won't have our numbers from lodging, meals, and beverage for a couple weeks in Middletown, but I know they will have a huge impact on our budget. It's going to be across not only Rhode Island, but it's going to be across the United States.
Everywhere.
Let's see here. Frank brings up I'm just trying to make sure all of these, about the governor financing costs of hospitality industry on the verge of bankruptcy. Governor, it's your responsibility. One of the things I brought up with Representative Lauren Carson when I had her on yesterday was I'm hearing from many businesses, and I'm sure you are, that they can get through right now, but it's 6 months down the line and a year from now where it might be the biggest struggle for these businesses. So everybody's going to rush out to support these businesses right now, but you got to remember that you got to spread out that support for the rest of the year, pretty much.
Yeah, there's a lot of pent up demand, and one of the things that I get a little worried about is as soon as you open, people are going to be running to the restaurants. We can't accommodate our numbers. If you say sat 100 before, I don't know how many you're going to be able to sit right now because every restaurant's different with the social distancing. So I'm going to keep going back to your listeners and watchers is please be patient with us. There's so much pent up demand. I've already got where I want to go the minute it opens. I think I'm going to eat 4 times every day just so I can make up. But you talk short-term, mid-term, and long-term. There is no doubt that is being talked about. And it's bigger than us. This is countrywide, and we're very fortunate to have the National Restaurant Association and the American Lodging Association on our side. We're on calls. I want everybody to know. I'm on calls with my counterparts around the country so I know what every state is doing. I'm on calls 3 times a week with the National Restaurant Association, 2 times a week with the American Hotel and Lodging Association, and at least 2 or 3 times with my counterparts. So we're always on top of sharing information so that we're not trying to create the wheel all on our own. Because we can't. We just can't. It's bigger than us.
And one final comment here, and it comes from Mr. Lombardi again, and I figured it would be important for you to know that he is prepared to support any opening and outside dining. And there is his email from Mr. Lombardi from the town of Middletown Town Council. And if you're a restaurant in his town, he is already ready to support you. And I mean, it only makes sense. You have to, we're going through something that we've never gone through before, and we have to try everything.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick, because we are going to need your help. Because every city in town rules our liquor licenses, rules all of our licensing for, the space that we can operate in. And now, the governor's saying, be creative, use parking lots, use this, use that. But that we're not going to trample over city and town rules. that wouldn't be right. So we're going to need the cities and towns to help us, relax some of those rules and help us figure all this out for, a period of time. And we don't know how long that period of time is. We just don't want it to make it hard for these industries to reopen. They have to go through any more barriers than they do right now.
I've seen a lot of people comment, and I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, so we'll kind of wrap up here in a couple minutes. I've seen a lot of people comment that, oh, I think I'm just going to doing takeout this summer. I'm not sure about going out and dining in a restaurant. What do you say to those people, Dale or Heather?
My personal feeling is we've got to support the restaurants the best way that we can. I completely understand that we got a lot of work to do as far as consumer confidence is concerned. It's one of the reasons why we want to make sure that our employees are educated, and we want to make sure that the business owners are comfortable reopening, giving whatever our new way of doing business is. Dale talks a lot about asking the general public to be patient, and that is going to be extremely important. But we're also going to have to get back to some sense of normalcy here. And I think that that's why our pledge and what we're coming up with the pledge is so important. Because we're treating it as a public service announcement and a promise to the employees, a promise to our consumers that we're going to do everything that we possibly can to keep you safe. And yes, right now, today on Thursday at 10:40, we don't know all the details on what that looks like, but we promise that we're going to do what we can to make sure that you are comfortable, that you are safe. And at the same time, our industry we're a face-to-face interactive type of industry. So this is going to be brand new for all of us, not just our customers, but also our employees. So I think the pledge is going to be really, really important.
Excellent. We'll be sure to share it once we see it later on today. Heather, we went through a lot here in the last 40 minutes. Is there anything we missed that you think we should make sure everybody knows about?
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff. I don't know. We only have so much time in the day, right, Ryan? But no, I mean, I'm very, very thankful for you having us on. I think it's important for the listeners and the readers within your community with What's Up Newport to know what is going on a statewide basis and even a national basis with all of the folks that Dale talks to on a regular basis. We're in it together. And we're trying to figure it out as we go. It will be a long process. I think that from the food service side of our industry, there's some anxiousness that is being built up because we are approaching, an opportunity to start doing some outdoor dining. We don't really know what that's going to look like, but my heart goes out to our hoteliers and our tourism attractions in the state. And our festival goers. And that's going to be a much longer road to get back to normal there.
And I've said it just about on every single interview I've done. And, all of those events that got canceled and all those festivals and all those games that are getting canceled. It's very important if you have the means over the next couple of weeks, months, maybe the rest of the year to show them some support. Because you cannot take it for granted that they will return next year. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but a lot of these are nonprofits that still spend a lot of their budget planning for this year. So if you can support, just like any business or hotel or shop, it's very important to support those events because they do bring a lot for the tourism industry.
Yes, it is. And there are neighbors. There are neighbors and our friends there. We know them. In Rhode Island, I'm talking to my folks in the Midwest. It's very different. We know everyone. And if we don't know you by face, we know you by name. We know of you. So you're right. It is that time to support everyone, the whole entire.
Now, Dale, did we miss anything else today that you would like to get out there?
Oh, like Heather said, we're working on so much. So it seems like the day goes by so quickly, but yet it's so slow with what's happening. I'm asking for patience. I don't have much of it on my own, but I'm asking for some patience because we don't have the answers, and we are working on getting them. And I love the fact that, Discover Newport, we work with all of the folks in Newport on a regular basis with Trudy Cox's team. We're all talking, we're all communicating that so that we all have a voice. And that's the most important thing. And I want everybody to know there is a voice. We can't always get, when I'm as a lobbyist, I always say, well, we want this, this, and this, and you don't always get it all, but you can still ask for some of it. So love to hear from anybody, Ryan, if there's any way we can help. But we are not consumer facing; it's more business facing. But if anybody has any ideas, I'd be certainly love to hear them.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you both for your time today. And again, the website is right there on the bottom, rihospitality.org. And wish you best both in health. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ryan.
You're welcome. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We will chat with you at 1 o'clock today when the governor has her press briefing.